Hello, and welcome to this week's Movie Math, where, as I tweeted last night, the finger pointing has already begun as to who's responsible for Ghost in the Shell being DOA. Not just in Tinseltown, there are some crazy articles in the trades we're going to discuss, but even amongst audiences, even amongst you. So I don't expect the comment section down below to be pretty. Yes, it would seem that live-action anime is not for the faint of heart. So on that note, let's take a look at the suspects, the prime suspects for why Ghost in the Shell had such an abysmal debut. All right, so Paramount is blaming print journalists. This is hilarious, saying they torpedoed the Rotten Tomatoes score because they had a problem with the whitewashing. Stupid print journalists. So basically, just really fast, the studios divide reviewers, and that's basically what Paramount means here, into two categories, right? They have like the old school ones, like Hollywood Reporter, Variety, New York Times, the movie reviews your grandparents read. And then also they have like something called All Media, which is the other catch-all category. And that's the last press screening that they will do. Particularly if they don't think a movie is good. And for Ghost in the Shell, it was Wednesday night. And we've talked about this. We've talked about studios. Paramount started this with Star Trek Beyond, where they try to control the Rotten Tomatoes score by cherry picking which critics get early access to it so that that first number is nice. And the first number for Ghost in the Shell was like around 70, but it fell a lot when most people got to see it. So anyway, Paramount saying, those print journalists, the all media journalists, when they came in, they, had ulterior motives. Well, that's, like with Iron Fist, let's say. But I don't believe that's true. I think that print journalists know the source material and they take this type of movie as seriously as they do any other movie. And the same can't be said in either regard for old school critics. It's a blockbuster. I don't know anything about Ghost in the Shell. So they just take it at face value and they give it a pass, especially, I'm sure, to some degree, because they're happy to get that early access. And so that's what happened, Paramount. Nice try. All right, so that's the first culprit. Those damn all media journalists going around telling it like it is. All right, so anyway, whitewashing. Make no mistake, whitewashing's days are numbered, but I don't think it dealt the death blow to Ghost in the Shell, to be honest with you, because if Ghost in the Shell had been really good, and it's the same situation like with Iron Fist, if Iron Fist had been really good, both would have persevered. I mean, look at Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange is a very good movie, so the Tilda Swinton thing, it kind of sticks in some people's craw, but the movie did well. It didn't do like as amazing as some other Marvel movies, but it did really nicely. To be fair, if Ghost in the Shell, this movie invited this upon itself, because if they changed the location to a Western city and they hadn't had that twist at the end, that would have also, I think, minimized the whitewashing discussion. I think that it got re-energized when people actually saw the movie. So there's still hope for that Death Note film on Netflix because it takes place in Seattle. That's how you whitewash, kids. All right, so next culprit, or innocent until proven guilty, although I think we all know that Rupert Sanders and Avi Arad and company are kind of guilty for this movie. Because when Christopher Nolan whitewashed Paprika, nobody cared, right? Because it was a great movie and everybody, well, I didn't love it, but I think we can classify it as such because the majority of people really like that film. But, it also, the talent was so hype that, you just couldn't kill it. You just couldn't kill the hype. And so I think that on that note, Jordan Peele's Akira could be in pretty good shape if he's still up for running this gauntlet. He's like, ooh, maybe I don't want to do that. But I think that Jordan Peele not only has a good eye for quality, although I do think his script fell apart in the third act, but I also think he's very sensitive to these issues, so he wouldn't run into the same problems that Ghost in the Shell has run into. Rupert Sanders, so insensitive in so many ways. But Sanders and Avi Arad have horrible track records, and Hollywood needs to stop being the town of second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth chances. Here's the bottom line. Any savvy moviegoer, so any of us, right, could have told you that these guys couldn't deliver. So why can't a Hollywood executive know that when it's their job to know it? It's crazy. All right. Then the next suspect is Paramount. Universal did a great job launching Lucy, so what the heck? Well, The other thing that doesn't make Paramount look so good is that XXX, The Return of Xander Cage, also similarly bombed, and Paramount is again looking for an assist from China. And they got one for XXX, so we'll talk about Ghost in the Shell's worldwide prospects at the end of the video. Trust me, there's a process. You'll see how it comes around. But anyway, I also think that in Paramount's defense, Ghost in the Shell did get very much so on people's pop culture radar. The trailers were a massive success. Everybody was watching them. And they've done a very nice job launching Baywatch and the upcoming Transformers movie. And in a smaller scale, 10 Cloverfield Lane. And Paramount, they haven't had a lot of practice lately. Their slate's been pretty lean, but they're getting new management, so you should expect to see them rev up. So I don't know if it's Paramount's fault. And then the final suspect is Scarlett Johansson. This is really bad for female-led action movies because this was not supposed to be like Underworld and Resident Evil. This was supposed to be the prestige, female action-led movie. Those are B movies, generously. This was supposed to be an A. And I have to tell you, Underworld and Resident Evil have all opened around 20, just as Ghost in the Shell did. Oh, that's so horrible. That is going to be a horrible, horrible weapon to use against anyone pitching female-led action movies in the future. They're like, look, they all open at 20. I don't care who's in it. With occasional exceptions like Hunger Games, obviously, and then hopefully Wonder Woman and Captain Marvel. Wonder Woman won't open like this. That would be absurd. And neither will Captain Marvel. But it's scary stuff. They can't open at the MCU equivalent of 20 million, right? Ant-Man and Wasp, maybe, but I would hate to think that women could only excel when they are co-leading in a film. Although I have to say, another thing that people are saying about Scarlett Johansson, which I think is true, is that she did not promote this movie very well. Scarlett Johansson has been very vocal about her distaste for social media. She's like, tweeting is for losers. And it's like, how do you feel right now, ScarJo? Do you feel like a winner? I don't think so. Get on Twitter. So you'll notice she doesn't tweet, she doesn't do Instagram, and she didn't do a lot of interviews for this either, where in comparison, let's go to Boss Baby, Alec Baldwin worked like a mofo to promote that movie. It was nuts. Talk show appearances, interviews. He was on the cover of Vanity Fair. He did a big article in USA Today. He recorded tons of extra spots for the movie. They don't pay you for that, I don't believe, which is Kevin Hart has gotten into trouble for that because he's like, I'm not promoting the movie or doing extra material unless you pay me for it. And they're like, whoa. Hollywood's like, whoa. But Alec Baldwin, he did it. And one of the special spots that he recorded was that special Beauty and the Beast themed trailer. Remember, it was fantastic. He was like, we don't have a talking candlestick, but if that's a deal breaker for you, we'll squeeze one in. And interestingly enough, that is when the pre-release tracking started to show an increase of interest in the movie. So that could have been the turning point, and he was willing to do that. So take note, other actors in Hollywood. You got to make like Kevin Hart, well, some ways, and Dwayne Johnson, and work to get your movies out there. And so now, The Boss Baby is the movie that toppled Beauty and the Beast, taking, ending its #1 reign earlier than anticipated. Everybody thought that The Boss Baby and Ghost in the Shell were in a race for #2. But Boss Baby beat out its predictions by 15 million. That's amazing. It's the 10th biggest opening ever for DreamWorks Animation, its biggest since Home. And on that note, in both instances, DreamWorks Animation targeted underserved markets with Home, kids of color, so you had a non-white lead, and then here, boys. Who would think boys would become a special interest group? But again, as I said in my review today of The Boss Baby, there's so much focus on girl power right now, little boys aren't getting a lot of love. But they did here, and they got rewarded for it. DreamWorks did. DreamWorks has just one more movie to go with Fox, Captain Underpants, before they depart for Comcast Universal. And it's nice to see Fox not phoning in distribution for the last few movies like Disney did with their DreamWorks live-action deal when that was coming to a close. Although, to be fair, Disney had been burned pretty badly by some DreamWorks live-action movies, so there wasn't a lot of love there at all. Although once DreamWorks Animation leaves Fox, Fox will only have one animation shingle, Blue Sky, which, isn't that hot these days, so they will not be competitive pretty much at all in the very lucrative animation field. Meanwhile, Universal will have 2 animation shingles a la Disney. As for Alec Baldwin, considering how hard he worked to promote Boss Baby, I think he also deserves a reward. Maybe better feature film roles, because he's right now stuck in supporting, or Woody Allen-esque movies. Although even this new, I think it's Eleanor Coppola movie, right? Paris Can Wait, he has like a really small role. Although that's an instance where I think he just lends his name to the film. It's a very small commitment for him. He does like 2 days of shooting, but they can say Alec Baldwin is in this movie. It's really a Diane Lane movie. But anyway, I think he either would like to get better roles in feature films, like maybe some lead roles or co-lead. Like, why not? Why doesn't he get like that recent Robert De Niro movie? The Internship with Anne Hathaway. That was a great movie. Or maybe his own TV show. Because right now, Alec Baldwin, talk about working hard. He is working hard to support his family and keep himself in the spotlight. He does the Saturday Night Live work. He's hosting Match Game, which is crazy. And again, those small supporting roles in feature films. And helping out a Coppola or two. Now, while Beauty and the Beast was unseated from number 1 earlier than expected, there was still good news this weekend for Disney live action, and that's that The Zookeeper's Wife did very well. And it's directed by Nikki Caro, whose next project is live-action Mulan. The Zookeeper's Wife, playing in just 541 theaters, half of what you need to be considered a wide release, it still managed to open at number 10. That's excellent. It's also very good news for Jessica Chastain, as The Zookeeper's Wife has already caught up with the entire box office gross of Miss Sloane, which was an okay movie. I recently became available on iTunes. I bought it, but it was not bad. I think Jessica Chastain, not so likable, I think, in real life, but I like her as an actress. Although, speaking of Jessica Chastain, you want to play Poison Ivy, as she's been telling everyone? You want to get paid as much as Matt Damon? Her ridiculous demand on The Martian, where he was the star, and she was like in like a handful of scenes, but she wanted the same salary for some reason. You got to get those box office numbers up, Chastain, before this can even be a discussion on both counts. Now, back to Beauty and the Beast. While it's no longer number 1, it still fell under 50% again in its third weekend, although the best hold of the top 10 still belonged to Get Out. Oh, that thing's a juggernaut. It's a marathon runner. It's amazing. The worst drop of the weekend, though, went to Power Rangers. In just its second weekend, it fell 64%, the biggest second weekend drop for a March release. Oh, that's so bad. Lionsgate's like, we were winning for once. What happened? No. I'm telling you, they kill all chatter about their movies online. But anyway, the second worst drop was for Life, also in its second weekend of release, which I think it's official. It's truly the scariest movie for Ryan Reynolds and Jake Gyllenhaal, not to mention their agents. Now, worldwide, let's take a look at the worldwide box office, which is starting to take shape already in March. And Beauty and the Beast is closing in on the $1 billion club, and it should join this coming weekend. Because look, again, its drops are so low. It's amazing. It's so good. Couldn't happen to a nicer movie. Logan won't make the $1 billion club, but it is now the third most successful X-Men film of all time. And with Hugh Jackman's departure, clearly that's a franchise in need of a new star. Is it Ryan Reynolds? Deadpool is only going to be the star of his own movies. They need somebody who's going to anchor the X-Men team. Then as for Kong Skull Island, here's some great news. It's almost at its break-even point, thanks to China, where it's now, get this, Warner Brothers' most successful film in China ever, with $124 million in just 2 weeks. So it's going to raise that bar. That's amazing. And also, you can see XXX, The Return of Xander Cage, is in the top 10 movies of the year, thanks to China, where it made $163 million. Kong, Paramount's doing better in China than Warner Brothers is. And so maybe Ghost in the Shell will also do well in China. They have a deal there to promote it with one of the online ticketing agencies, and so it could pull in maybe a lot of money there. And also it's native Japan. It's so crazy, the Ghost in the Shell. It's native Japan. That's where the concept originated with the manga and the anime, and it's opening in both those countries this Friday. So we'll see very soon if there's a reprieve for Ghost in the Shell in Asia. And on that note, stateside this coming weekend, the Boss Baby will have to fight off some latest Smurfs for number 1, or Beauty and the Beast could rally and reclaim that number 1 spot. Oh, it'll be an interesting weekend for family moviegoers. Zach Braff's Going in Style, I can't believe he directed that movie, and religious film The Case for Christ, they aren't expected to really be in play. So I'm curious, what movie are you seeing this coming weekend? And what are your thoughts on this past weekend's box office? Thanks for going over the box office with me. This has been Movie Math, and you can check out some more videos right now.